Hello everyone, I hope everyone is doing good and taking good care of themselves. Remember, if you're fit and fine, you can take better care of your loved ones. So today we are going to talk and understand about, all about toxic mother. So before I get into the subject, I would like to make a small little disclaimer. This is not an attempt to demonize anybody's mother or mothers in general, and this is not to feel hatred towards anybody's mother. Yeah. And the entire idea behind making this video is to create a positive awareness and help people identify toxicity and dysfunctionality and work towards improving it, so that overall the relationship improves between a mother and a child. So that is what the intent of making this video is. Now let us understand a toxic mother. Toxic is something which is not good for us, and of course mother. So can mothers really be not good for us? No. We can certainly draw boundaries, but some of the behavior patterns of a mother can be toxic for the children. Now in order to understand what are the signs that is actually shown by a toxic mother that can influence the upbringing or the growing up of a child. The first one is constant criticism. Yes, toxic mothers are constantly into criticism. They are criticizing their child. They are into constant comparison and criticism, and that actually really restricts the self-confidence of a child. And growing up with so much of criticism, the child actually loses the sense of self, has less motivation, doesn't feel alright, doesn't feel up to the mark, and again low self-esteem and confidence is there. So this really hurts the child. So excess criticism is not good. So one of the first signs of a toxic mother, or the traits of a toxic mother, is constant criticism, no matter what the child does. Healthy criticism is fine to help shape up things and understand what is good and bad, but constant criticism, it's absolutely bad. So never engage into constant criticism. The next one is controlling behavior. Yes, controlling behavior, of course child needs a little bit of control, I don't deny that, but overly controlling behavior, when they are growing up, that is not good, because most of these toxic parents, they have an understanding that the child is not an individual self, but an extension of their own self and ego. So they really don't identify them as an individual entity, and because of that they really don't give them any autonomy. And most of the time these toxic mothers are very controlling. They control what they think, they control what they eat, they control what they do, what they dress. So it's quite a controlled environment for the kid, and so much of control actually restricts the growth, and it's not good for a child. So toxic mothers are very controlling in their behavior, and this behavior actually doesn't help the kid at all. It in a way hurts the growth of a child, and the child becomes more codependent, emotionally weak, lack of self-esteem and confidence, and the child grows up with a lot of challenges. The next trait of a toxic mother is guilt tripping and manipulation. Yes, the toxic mothers are always into guilt tripping and manipulation, and this is how they tend to establish control over the child, or they get to they rather make their child do whatever they want with the help of guilt tripping and manipulation. These are two of the things. Guilt tripping is definitely not good. If someone has done mistake, you have already explained it to them, and if they are trying to recover or overcome that mistake, you need to help them navigate out of it, rather than guilt tripping them and making them do what you want them to do. So that's not the way how a mother should behave. A mother should actually help them come out of the situation, and understand healthy boundaries and help them be motivated enough not to repeat the mistake. So one of the characteristics of a toxic mother is guilt tripping and manipulation. The next one is humiliation. Yes, toxic mothers are into humiliating their kids a lot, even if they do small little mistakes. You can always, in closed rooms, you can always check them or school them or tell them not to do it or not to repeat it. But humiliation to an extent of public humiliation is what is actually used by most of these toxic mothers. Whereas in for a simple thing, they get so abusive, and that too in public, they name and shame their kids. And that really hurts the confidence of a child. That's not the way forward. You can bring them home and you can just tell them, be strict with them and at least tell them not to repeat the mistake. But in public humiliation, I don't think that's the way forward. That actually hurts the child instead of actually rectifying or teaching something positive to the child. Yeah, so that is one of the traits of a toxic mother. The next one is invalidating the children's emotion. So the children might feel shy of something, not comfortable of something, or not feel like doing something, or not be very happy in doing something. But when it comes to a toxic mother, they just don't identify it. They are all about themselves. So it has to be my way. That's how the toxic mothers think. So they invalidate a child's emotion if they are having fear, if they are scared of something, if they are shy of something. That has got no room in front of a toxic mother. It's just that you have to do it my way, and it has to be done. So that's bad. That really makes the child have a huge amount of dysregulated emotions and emotional issues that the child grows up with, because their emotions are not validated and identified by their parents or caregiver, whatever they have. So that's a problem. So one should identify and ask that, why are you feeling shy? Why are you so scared? Why don't you feel like doing it? Why are you feeling this way? So these things are not there. A healthy talking, a proper way of addressing to emotions and validating it, it's not there. So that is one of the characteristics of a toxic mother. The next one is, passive aggression. Now, as you all know, passive aggression is again a kind of an indirect aggressive behavior, whereas they normally don't become abusive, but they indirectly, they stop talking to them, they stop treating them, well, they stop, getting them what they are supposed to get. They stop, they delay their fees, they delay their food. So these kind of indirect approach of, abuse and subjugation is what in passive aggression is all about. Taking it out indirectly, not directly telling them, but indirectly. If it's their birthday, then just forgetting their birthday. If you have promised something to give, these toxic mothers will forget to give their children on their birthday. It's very weird. It's almost like a I would say it's quite an enemy kind of a situation that these toxic mothers have, which is not good at all. It's your own child. Have compassion, have love towards them. All what they need is love. That's it. They don't need anything else. And love can heal all issues. Love can heal all kinds of wounds. And the next one is toxic mothers don't identify personal boundaries. They disrespect personal boundaries. So there is nothing called personal of a kid when it comes to a toxic mother. Everything is where mother can get into. Fine, when the child is growing up very young, it's okay. I mean, like you can control quite a lot of things, but but when the child is growing up and is developing a sense of self and aging and doing whatnot and other things, I think the child should be given a healthy space. So every time interrogating their personal space is not good. Let them have some amount of their personal space. That helps them grow. That helps them have a feeling of sense of self. and they have some amount of self-respect. That is how it all develops and grows. But if there is no respect towards their personal boundaries, there is no there is less or problematic kind of self-respect that grows in that child. So yes, these are some of the characteristics of a toxic mother. And also, if you see, growing up with a toxic mother also give rises to a lot of feelings. First feeling is, the child, those who grew up or those who have toxic mother, those who grew up with a toxic mother since their childhood, they have this feeling of not being enough. Shame, or the consistent sense that there is something wrong with you. And these, because mothers are overly critical, they are constantly not into validating the emotions, guilt tripping, manipulation, controlling behavior, humiliation, passive aggression. If you see, all of these leads to a feeling of not being enough in a child. So these children grow up with a feeling of not being enough, because of course, if you see, the mother and a child's bond is very important and essential, and if these toxicity is there, that relationship is, as it is, very empty, and the child is bound to face a lot of challenges growing up as an adult. So one thing that the child grows up with is that feeling of not being enough, not being good enough, and that reflects in their further relationships as well. The other feelings that these children grow up with is that they don't be themselves completely. And why don't they be themselves completely is because they don't want to threaten others. So they grow up being someone else. They are not themselves, because it might hurt or it might threaten others. So they are just faking their own individuality. They are living like somebody else. They're not just being themselves. So this is again one of the things that they grow up with, these children who grow up with toxic mothers. The next one is that they have got these children have got a very high tolerance towards the poor treatment from others. So these children really tolerate a lot of poor behavior towards them. So this is one of the things that these children grow up with, which is not good at all. And more, if you see, most of these children, those who have got a high tolerance towards, some kind of poor treatment from the others, these children often land up becoming people pleasers as well. So that is not right. One should not tolerate bad behavior. One should do good and expect good in return. And if there is something is toxic or something is not feeling good, one should say no and just come out of it. The next one is that these children grow up with a lot of problems related to emotional caretaking. They either want to be emotionally caretaken by someone, or they want to be someone who emotionally caretakes others. So they are very emotionally fragile. In simple terms, to understand, these children grow up being very emotionally fragile. Either they need assistance emotionally, or they want to assist someone else emotionally. They are just not being themselves, so they cannot function individually, on an individual basis. They need, when it comes to emotion, either they want to back onto someone, or they want others to back on them. They don't want to be idle and alone whenever an emotional subjective topic comes or arises around them. The next one is those children who grow up in a family with a toxic mother. These children have a feeling of competitiveness towards another woman. Yes, I don't know whether you all must have noticed or not, but a lot of these children, or maybe the daughters who have toxic mothers, they are very competitive towards other women, and they always take other women as competitor. They grew up taking other women as competition, and they always compete in order to prove that they are better than them. So this is again because of identity crisis, lack of confidence, low self-esteem, that they just feel very insecure. They have a sense of jealousy, insecurity, and that is what makes them see every other woman as a competition in front of them. The next one is self-sabotage. Of course, like often these children go into a state of self-sabotage where they just disconnect from others and from their own self. The next point is that those kids, who grew up with a toxic mother, they are either overly rigid and dominating. So these kids are quite stubborn, rigid, and dominating in nature. I mean, the kids, those who have or they have grown up with a toxic mother. And the next point is that these kids, those kids who grew up in the presence of a toxic mother, they are quite prone to developing eating disorders, and they are also quite prone to developing signs of mild to severe depression, and they also have issues with addiction. So yes, toxic mothers might be any mother, but the impact of the toxic mother's behavior on a child is very deep, and the child suffers. Often the child understands and hesitates to talk about it or to address to it, and sometimes when the awareness is less, the child doesn't know, and the reality is, all of that toxicity and dysfunctionality becomes the new reality for the child. So this was all about toxic mother. And again, I would want to repeat and make myself clear that this is not to demonize mother, but this is to identify and address the wrong behaviors, the wrong traits of a toxic mother, and to identify so that a child also knows what toxicity is, and they can actually talk it out. And there is no shame in talking out. All of the humans are not gods. They have not descended from the sky. It's humans, and we do mistakes. So being parent also does some mistakes. Children also do mistakes. So there is always the best way is to talk it out rather than constantly putting pressure and assuming that you're always right, because in our society, parents are considered always right, even if they are abusive or some kind of criminal or whatever. They are considered to be gods. No, that is not. I mean, parents are individual beings who want to procreate and have sex and have children, and that is how children are coming. Children are not asking for it. It's the parents who are deciding to bring in a new life. So if you are bringing in a new life, try and give a good life to that new being, rather than venting out your frustration, anxiety, and toxicity onto that child. Help that child have a better future rather than having a challenging future. So yes, this video is all about creating awareness. In case you have also experienced growing up with a toxic mother, you can always comment below, and please like, share, subscribe this video and create awareness, and lots of love and blessing. And remember, talking is the key to all problems. Bye.